Are you ready?
Yep.
All right, we are recording, so cue that intro music. Yeah, man, it's good stuff. Am I right?
Oh yeah.
All right, what is up, boys? We are back for the Other League podcast. My name is Christopher Edmonds. I'm your fearless commissioner. Back for another week, and here with a special guest, Wesley Fall, the league's newest favorite baby daddy.
Hello, hello. Glad to be back. Barely alive, but glad to be back.
How are things? How are things at home with our new member of the league, Margaret?
Doing great. She's doing great. What is sleep these days?
Yeah, who needs sleep? Not important. Well,
No.
I'll go ahead and cheers you for your new addition to the family. Congratulations again.
Thank you, thank you.
I've got a pumpkin beer. What do you have?
Have a whiskey from Short Barrel. We are looking for a sponsorship. It is delicious. If any of you see it in your local ABC stores, grab yourself a bottle.
That was a well done plug and probably the thumbnail. Good job.
You're welcome.
All right. So, speaking of our special guest, Wesley Fall, I think he has something that he owes the league for his performance in week six. We'll get to that recap, but I think the first thing I'll go ahead and mention is that in your matchup, you only put up 95 points, which was the weekly low.
Yeah, so there's winners and losers, and then there's good losers and bad losers. So cheers.
It's a good shot.
That was wonderful. Get yourself a bottle.
You got to do what you got to do. All right. With that, we'll go ahead and get into our week six recap. We had some pretty solid matchups. One of the closest ones we had was between Christopher Glennon and Pat Dragon. Pat Dragon struggling in record, but put up 124 points in the loss to Christopher Glennon's 130, led by Jalen Hurts and tight end Tyler Warren. Wesley, do you have anything on this matchup here where we saw Jamar Chase go off for Pat Dragon?
Oh yeah, he did. It wasn't enough though. That sucks. And the biggest issue for his team now is Dowdle, Rico Dowdle. Now that he's coming back looking strong, what's that going to do to Hubbard? Is it going to make it a 50-50 carry now? Does an RB1 drop to an RB2, maybe to a flex? So definitely got some questions there. I know he's hitting the trade market heavy. So let's see what he starts slinging out there.
Yeah, I'm sure. I may or may not have already messaged him a little bit since there's some parity or some disparity between our two team records here. I can assure you, Christopher Glennon in that matchup, I spent the weekend with him out in Salt Lake, and the entire time we were at this music festival, he was in my ear talking about his new beloved Tet McMillan, and it was beyond annoying.
That's hilarious. That's hilarious. Yeah, he has a solid team too, though. So let's see if they keep it up. It looks like he has solid starters. Interested to see when he gets to bye weeks how he's going to handle that. Doesn't look like there's too much depth there. So it'll be interesting, but good team so far.
Yeah. Speaking of people popping off, I had Bijan Robinson and Drake London both putting up 30 plus in my matchup against Nick Gravely. I took the win at 162 against 124 points. Funny enough, my 162.02 still not the high score in the league this week. We'll get to that matchup where I once again was barely eked out by Alex Orbeck by less than a point, and I'm less tilted about it this time because it was at least in a victory. But Nick Gravely's team had Josh Jacobs and George Pickens both put up over 30. I'm intrigued to see what happens with Pickens now that we have CD Lamb coming back. But all in all, high scoring matchup, super fun to watch. Love my Atlanta Falcons offense popping off, except for Michael Penix, apparently, just not getting those points as a QB. But I will take Bijan all the way through as much as I can.
Yeah, you're 162 scary, especially from a 4-1 team. So it's pretty impressive that you're putting that up, getting big numbers from the defense as well. You had a solid waiver wire, probably jumping the gun here with Michael Penix dropping him and snagging yourself the fourth tight end. So we'll talk about that a little bit later, but I don't think you have to worry about Penix too much.
Yeah,
And then
no
it's
one's gonna
always
snipe him off of
yeah,
waivers.
yeah, no, I don't think so. And then it's always good to hop on here when Nick gets a loss. So glad to see that.
Oh, love that. Just a
And
little bit of shade toward Nick
yeah, just a
Graveling.
little. And also, he drafted Justin Fields, and everybody was like, "What is he doing?" First 3 weeks, 4 weeks, whatever it was, Fields was kind of popping off, looking legit. But glad to see that him and the Jets are showing their true form right now. So
Speaking of true form, Wesley, you want to talk about your matchup and tell us what happened with your team? Anchored by Baker Mayfield, but less than 20 from the guy getting MVP chance in Tampa.
yeah, so sleep is an issue. These 3 weeks have been tough, hence why I'm 0 and 3. Props to Gavin for just putting out their winning squad, but I was in the blender. Don't know why I didn't start Dart. Don't know why I didn't start Dart, and it was clearly a mistake. The kid is legit. He's back in the starting lineup this week. Probably going to let me down, but he's so back. And again, had the low this week, so that sucks.
I'm sure it's just because of how much Giants talk I get between Dart and Scatterboo in my group text now. But my Instagram feed is just popping off with Giants content, and I'm getting so much Cam Scatterboo and Jackson Dart related content. It is super annoying. Although it is actually fun to watch the Scatterboo content because he is just like aggressive white boy who runs into everything. It's hard not to enjoy.
Yeah, no, he's crazy to watch. But anyways, the first drink was for the week low 2 weeks ago. This week, still a gracious loser. Just saying. Six
Damn,
losers.
doubled up. How did that one feel?
Much better. Second one's always easier.
It's just that first one on a work day is just so aggressive.
Yeah, dude. Caught me off guard. But anyways, props to Gavin for putting out a winning squad.
Yeah.
He has turned the East around. It is wide open, and I'm scared.
Yeah, we'll talk about the East-West win totals here after we get through our last couple matchups. I'll go ahead and talk about Scott's matchup, Bauer Power versus Sweet Mahomes. Corey Eller put up 98 points. Mahomes did great as always. He's been rock solid as a quarterback, put up 31. JT put up 23. I think Corey Eller's real pickup has been Darren Waller, potential comeback player of the year. Would love to see that continue. But Scott's team, anchored by Jaden Daniels and JSN becoming an incredible lead receiver for Sam Darnold. That I did not have that on my bingo card. I had JSN like outside, maybe low end top 10, maybe outside my top 10 receivers in the draft. And boy, were we wrong. He's really stepped it up for Scott's team.
Yeah, he's doing so good this year that he's going to have to contemplate him as a keeper next year, as a first round keeper, I believe, which is insane. He's been great this year. I'm jealous he has him.
Hey, we've seen weirder keeper selections work out.
Yeah, for
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah, I won't name names. We don't have to do that. Let's talk about our last matchup. Should I stay or Scatabo? 162.22, only zero point 0.2 more than me, Alex Orbeck. So annoying that I keep getting edged out like this. Up against Baby Dragon, putting up 111. Orb's team, Rico Daddle, 33.9. Cam Scatterboot, 31. And Achan, 31. Like that, how do you beat that? That is absolutely stacked at the running back position.
Yeah, I said a while back, last time I was on, when he didn't even have a win, that his team still scared me, and he's slowly keeping himself there, slowly keeping himself there. So he has a solid team. Let's see what happens. Kind of like I mentioned earlier with the Dowdle, though, how much of the carries is going to be split 50-50. I think he'll still be a solid player, but what happens there? And then Baby Dragon, nobody's talked about CMC this year. He's doing great,
Yeah,
doing great,
he's
solid
doing,
player.
and I think we knew he would do great. I think the real question going into the draft was always just health. Like,
Yeah.
if you have to go to Germany to get your legs replaced, how healthy actually are you? But he's holding up. So who knows?
Yeah.
Maybe that procedure is the way of the future for running backs.
Yeah,
Uh,
whatever shots he got, the rest of their team needs to get it too.
yeah, if only. Dude, that team is so riddled with injury. Of note related to Alex Orbeck's score. So on his bench, he has Brock Purdy and Kyler Murray. He ended up starting in a super flex league a running back in that super flex spot, and it paid off with Rico Dowdle putting up 33.9 and leading the team to victory.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, his team's scary. I mean, you also have CD Lamb when he comes back. That should be in the next week or two.
Hmm.
Um, the receiver or not the receivers, the quarterbacks, like you said, once they're healthy, like Purdy wasn't doing terrible when he was healthy. He was putting up solid numbers. So it's going to be really interesting to see what happens down the stretch with his team.
Yep. Interesting stuff for sure. Uh, with the West happening, we are now a little bit more spread out. Let's talk about the East-West rivalry and talk about win totals. The West went 4-1 over the East this past week, bringing the win totals for the West to 14 and the East at 16. So a little bit more even split between East and West. In the West Division, you have my team at 5-1, and then two 500 teams with CJ and Scott Sharp both at 500. And then you have Alex Orbeck sitting at 2-4, and then Pat Dragon bringing up the rear at 1-5. So a decent amount of disparity here in the West between 5-1 at the top and 1-5 at the bottom. Not the case over in the East. We have Corey Eller in the lead with 4-2, and then every other team, that's four more teams sitting at 3-3 in the East. So the East is wide open there for you, Wesley.
Yeah, it's pretty interesting if you scroll over and look at the playoff percentages for them. You kind of have three teams that it looks like have a trajectory that they're going to be on, which for Corey's one, it seems a little high when it's like a 1 week swing. But, anyways, you still have three teams that look like they're on a trajectory towards something, and then the rest of it, it's literally a coin flip. So that's a ton of teams, ton of spots still open. Um, let's see. I'm hoping to survive through week 8, I think it is, or week 9, because that's when my buys happen. And if I can get through those, y'all better watch out.
Y'all
That's all I'm
better
saying.
watch out
That's all I'm
because
saying.
then
I'll have some sleep on me.
I was about to say you won't be as sleep deprived.
Yeah, yeah. So better watch out. So
That's a good point to go ahead and tie in. A quick playoff reminder for everyone here in the league. Our playoffs start week 15, and it is a 1 week matchup in the semis, and then a 1 week matchup for the championship. So we only do week 15 and week 16 to decide our winner. Only four teams are going to make the playoffs. That is one division winner from the East, one division winner from the West, and then two wild card spots decided by record, and then a tiebreaker of total points for. So keep that in mind as you guys are deciding what to do with your team and your roster management. You're still in it. There's always those wild card spots. So keep fighting out there, and I'll keep trying to fend off the rest of the West. Let's go ahead and talk waivers. There was one hot commodity on the waiver report, and that was Rashi Rice coming back from suspension. Haven't even seen him play yet, but he managed to get an offer of 50 whole dollars from Alex Orbeck to join his team. Should I stay or scataboo? $50 was the highest bid, and then the next two highest bids were both $10 from me and Christopher Glennon. Baby Dragon was in there with an $8 bid, also unsuccessful. The next highest offer for a player was Dallas Goddard. Dallas Goddard, tight end for Philly, going for $11 to yours truly, which I am stoked about. Although I might have overpaid a bit, I didn't see any other offers for Dallas Goddard. Kamani Vidal warranted $11, but ended up going so $11 from Alex Orbeck. However, Alex Orbeck did not have all $11 of fab to spend on him. So he went for $8 to Christopher Glennon. So good pickup there, replacing Amari and Hampton in Los Angeles. And then the last few, Kayshawn Booty goes for $10. Yet another New England Patriot going to Baby Dragon. Bit of a homer, but it seems to work out for him, so he's going to keep doing it. And then a kicker and a defense going to Corey Eller for $1 a piece, just maintaining that churn there at the bottom of the lineup. Wesley, any notes there on the waiver report?
yeah, 50 seems like a lot for Rice, but you don't know what you don't know. So I guess it's worth the gamble this late in the season. And then still Goddard was a great pickup. I was looking at my team and realized I didn't have a second tight end. Got a bye coming up. Was going to try to snag somebody. They're gone.
Yeah.
So good
Well,
job.
hey, trade blocks open if you want to talk. I know
Yeah,
someone with two tight ends.
I'll take the loss. It's okay.
You would rather do that than trade with me. All right, fine. Be that way. All right, let's talk about week 7 coming up. We'll get into a quick preview here. of our Week 7 matchups. Your beloved 5-1 Toast Tankers, best team in the league, taking on the best team in the East. So it's a one versus one. Leader of the West taking on leader of the East here this week. Currently, Corey Ellers projected above me at 140. I'm projected 135. It's going to come down to whether or not Jonathan Taylor and Patrick Mahomes put up for Corey Eller up against my Bijan Drake London stack, along with Dak Prescott and Caleb Williams, my two unorthodox quarterback keepers that have seemingly worked out so far this year. Wesley, you've got a matchup with another 3-3 team. You are facing Scott Sharp.
Yeah, need a win this week. Desperately need a win on a three-game skid. Got to get over the hump. The East is turning into a shit show, so need to get back going the right way. Need Scott to lose. It's officially Scott hate week. So Lane Kiffin sucks. Ole Miss sucks. Dart is great. If he had stayed, Ole Miss would be good. Suck it.
Damn. Damn, you're really cutting them deep. Related to hate weeks, really annoying that it is officially Tennessee hate week for Alabama. And my girlfriend is obsessed with fall and all things pumpkin. That's why the only beer in the fridge is a pumpkin beer, and that's why there's orange pumpkins all over my house, and I can't stand it. I want to just get rid of them, but I know she would be really sad if I just moved them out of the way for this week. So I'm not going to do that. But just know deep down, I'm also celebrating Tennessee Hate Week. I know Nick Gravely
It's
appreciates
fine.
that.
Yeah, I'm sure he does for sure.
Speaking of Gravely, he's got a matchup against Christopher Glennon. This one is projected to be really close. 127 for Nick, 124 for Christopher Glennon. Once again, Justin Fields. I feel like it's going to be so hit or miss. If we get good Justin Fields, Nick Gravely could pull this one out. And if we don't, it's going to come down to either Josh Jacobs or Jordan Love getting the touchdowns because Nick has Josh Jacobs. CJ has Jordan Love, so it's going to come down to whether or not it's a passing touchdown or a rushing touchdown for Green Bay.
Yeah, it's gonna be interesting. And also, I don't know if this is new or if I just now realized it. Looking at the matchups, it gives check marks by the player that has the advantage. Is that
Mhm.
new? Yeah.
It's not new, but it's there. You know what do you see? What's
Anyways,
interesting about it?
it just looks pretty even, just like the score. So it'll be interesting to see which one of those can, take the advantage and sway one of those checks their way. Um, yeah,
And a matchup that is a little bit less even. We have Pat Dragon at 112 facing Alex Orbeck's team, which is rocking and rolling right now at 134. Especially if CD Lamb comes back, I could see that being a real issue for Pat's team. Pat's team currently anchored by Justin Herbert and Bo Nix, two good quarterbacks that they had strong starts, now underperforming, and then Jamar Chase, who is basically without a quarterback. We're gonna get into our Thursday night football podcast parlay, and Jamar Chase's team might be involved in some of our picks. So stay tuned for that. Wesley, you want to take us home here and tell us a little bit about the matchup between Baby Dragon, Dragon D's Footballs, and Laporte Authority, managed by Gavin, over here in the
yeah.
East. Two, 3-3 teams in the East duking it out.
Yeah, initial look looks pretty lopsided, but when you dig into it, it's because Puka's still in the roster for Alex. I think he is questionable, may even be doubtful at this point. So little roster management there, and it's going to be a much more even uh, projections out the gate. Again, week in, week out for Gavin, it's going to come down to the Lions. He has so many Lions players. What can they put up that week, and do those people get the ball? So it'll be a good matchup, and I don't know. Yeah.
Yeah, the
I
East
guess I
is
guess either way it helps me because one of them gets a loss, so
there.
that's
There you go.
exciting.
At least we get something happening in the East where not everyone's going to be 3-3. So,
Yeah,
yeah, it's going to
exactly.
be. I think it's going to be a fight to the finish in the East there for that playoff spot. Go ahead. Let's go ahead and give you guys a quick reminder. Trade deadline for our league as we are getting closer and you guys are making decisions about whether you're going to contend this year or if you need to sell off and get some keeper value. Our trade deadline is Wednesday, November 26th. That is the day before Thanksgiving. And that deadline is in the middle of the day. That deadline is at 12 noon Eastern time, if I'm reading all that properly on ESPN. So as you're starting to make those choices, you're starting to send out those offers, whether you're going to make a run or stay back, just remember we are a little over a month and a couple weeks away. So keep that in mind. And hopefully we get a little bit more clarity between the East and West over which teams are going to do it and which teams need to start rebuilding for next year and adopt the Toast Tankers multi-year rebuild strategy, even if that's not exactly how it played out. Wesley, you want to give us your pick for the Thursday night football podcast parlay? Just so everyone's on the same page, we have a game between the Pittsburgh Steelers and the Cincinnati Bengals. This game is happening Thursday night in Cincinnati, and it has been dubbed the Icy Hot Bowl because we have two ancient quarterbacks going against each other in Aaron Rodgers and the newly acquired Joe Flacco.
Yeah, gotta stick with the hate week. Scott's over here running one of the Bengals players, hoping for some big output from him. Well, we're not. We're hoping that he does terrible. Joe Flacco doesn't know how to move the ball. Joe Flacco doesn't know what a check down is, and the run defense is stellar. So we're going total yards, rushing and receiving under for Chase Brown.
That line is set at 65.5. So Wesley's taking the under on Chase Brown's combined total. That'll get you minus 114 on FanDuel. My pick is very similar, but going in a different direction on how we're getting there. I am taking TJ Watt of the Pittsburgh Steelers to record a sack against the statuesque Joe Flacco at minus 188. You parlay those together, you get plus 164, 30% profit boost on FanDuel for a Thursday night football game. Gets you to plus 214. That's $10 to win 21. And if you cash it, go ahead and share the love with your podcast host and co-host, Christopher and Wesley.
Yeah, let's have a trip.
Yeah, let's get another win. So far, the podcast parlay is undefeated. So let's see if we can cash another one. This one involving a little bit of Scott Hate Week, and then me just poking a little bit of fun at the Icy Hot slash Bengay Bowl for these two ancient quarterbacks. Hopefully, we get a good Thursday night football game. I don't know about y'all, but I have seen literally none of the international games. I want to watch them, but it is so early for me on Mountain Time. I just can't do it.
Yeah, I used to be able to do it, and now I wake up and I'm like, what is life? So I've missed a couple of the more recent ones as well. But I don't know. I don't really hate it too much. The fan base interaction, like it always just feels a little dead that early. So it is what it is.
I feel like those
Bring it
games are
bring it
weird
back
too.
home, back to America.
Wow. And on that patriotic note, Leslie, thank you for joining us. We're going to let you go so you can get back to your fatherly duties. Best of luck this week to everybody except for Corey Eller.
Cheers.
Cheers, boys. We'll see you next time.